Hey there, honorable game devs and loyal listeners and readers. Today we are very excited to be joined by Max Schaefer from Runic Games. They are the creators of recently released Torchlight 2. We are honored to have you here.
Thank you. It's my pleasure to be here.
So let's go ahead and start by talking about how Runic Games came to be. What pushed you to forge your own studio and create a new IP in Torchlight?
Well, the team that is Runic Games was born out of basically the wreckage of Flagship Studios. They were the Seattle branch of the San Francisco-based company, and they were working on a game called Mythos. And when Flagship Studios went kaboom, then a bunch of us got together and said, hey, this was a really good team, and Mythos was a really promising project. So let's kind of resurrect them and see what we can do as a small, efficient, independent developer.
When you all were kind of putting heads together and deciding on what you were going to do with the Torchlight games, how did you decide on their general direction? Coming from the Diablo background, how did you want to differentiate yourselves from what you had both been working on?
Well, I think first and foremost, we were trying to do something as a brand new company kind of as quickly as possible. We were pretty close to the end of the Mythos project when it all got kind of taken away. And so we wanted to kind of erase the memory of that and get a product on the shelves that's simple and quick to do so that we could, as a studio, kind of get used to shipping products and get used to working as an independent studio. And so the decision was made to make something that was kind of in our alley as far as the styles we've done before. My brother and myself worked on the entire Diablo series from the beginning, and our project lead, Travis Baldry, was the creator of a game called Fate. And so we both had action RPGs in our past, as well as working on the Mythos project, which was action RPG. So we really decided that the kind of most responsible and safe thing for us to do is to start with a brand new IP that's an action RPG and see if we can't kind of slowly, step by step, build up a big franchise out of it.
Between Torchlight 1 and Torchlight 2, how did you make the decision to kind of shift it from the dungeon crawler to a more open world? What kind of feedback were you getting from Torchlight 1 fans that directed you toward that?
Well, we knew from the beginning that we were going to do a multiplayer version. I think originally we thought we were going to be doing an MMO immediately after, but relatively soon, into the project of Torchlight 1, we realized that the best thing for our studio right now would be just to do a basic Diablo 2 style multiplayer version instead. And so in making a multiplayer game, you need more room to run around. And we knew that Torchlight 1 was pretty claustrophobic, just being one series of dungeons underneath a town. So like the very first thing we did when we started Torchlight 2 was make a little outdoor area. And it kind of evolved and became the little path that you take to town right now in Torchlight 2. But it's wild. Like as soon as you get out on that path, it feels like a bigger world, even though you haven't almost seen anything yet. Just being outside and in the weather with day-night effects makes a huge difference.
Absolutely. I would think it would expand horizons for storytelling as well, that just kind of allow you to flesh out the lore and the world around it.
Yeah, absolutely.
So we've heard rumors that your next game isn't going to be Torchlight 3, but something new. Are you able to divulge anything about that at all at this point?
I can divulge everything about it because it's actually true that we don't know what we're doing next for sure. And so there's really nothing to hide. There's lots of opportunities that we have, from continuing to work on Torchlight 2 with like an expansion to doing, a Torchlight 3 or going to consoles or doing something else entirely, just to kind of get a refreshing break from doing action RPGs. It's something that we kind of want to get through the next couple months of just making sure everything is in tip-top shape on Torchlight 2 and doing all the language translations and stuff. We want to kind of have the dust settle and be able to look at it and say, okay, what makes sense for the business? What are our customers asking for? And what does the team want to do? And come to a rational decision then. And so we're kind of purposefully deferring that decision just for the moment. And I should say that we're only 30 people, so we can only do one thing at a time. So right. As much as we'd like to do all of the the opportunities in front of us, we really have to pick one.
So, and I know you get this question a lot, but what kind of rivalry do you feel, if any, with Blizzard due to Diablo 3? And I think I watched I think it was a Total Biscuit video a while back where you were asked this question. And what kind of feedback are you getting from Torchlight 2 versus feedback you may have seen or experiences you may have had in Diablo 3? What do you think really differentiates the game, and how do you feel about the feedback that both have been getting?
Well, I think they are both reviewed very well, obviously.
Absolutely.
And I think that we are happy to have there be a conversation of the relationship of Torchlight 2 to Diablo 3. Just by the mere fact of that conversation existing, we come out ahead, because we're the tiny little company. So it's flattering to just have the conversation, and they do different things. They're both on the surface action RPGs, and they you have a superficial look that's very similar, but the more you get into them, the more different kinds of games they are. And so I think that they have different things that appeal to different people. I think that, like you were asking about a rivalry with Blizzard, I think that we have a healthy rivalry with Blizzard in the same way that when we were at Blizzard North, we had a healthy rivalry with the Blizzard headquarters people. It's just a healthy competitive nature. Like, we know that Blizzard's going to come out with something great, so we know we have to come out with something great also. And I think that sort of healthy competition is just good for the industry.
So Torchlight 2, it launched around the same time, I think 2 or 3 days after Borderlands 2. Was that a big worry for you, or do you think that the games are, they're a little similar in nature, but their playstyle caters to different genres and different people? So do you think that there was a lot of room for both? How did you feel about that when you were deciding on when to release?
Well, I don't think we would pick to be within 2 days of Borderlands, going in. But I'm not sure how much of a difference it makes. Torchlight 1 was within a week of Borderlands 1, and both went on. They didn't seem to hurt each other, certainly. And sometimes I wonder, we're mentioned so much also with Borderlands 2, largely because we came out in the same week. And like, hey, have you checked out Borderlands 2 and Torchlight 2? I see a lot of that, and so I wonder how much maybe we're kind of piggybacking off each other.
Right.
And just doing better for each other. Who knows? It's hard to, I wish we had a parallel universe to run all the different scenarios, but it's all kind of speculative where we should be and how you should release.
I don't remember how many times, but you all did, delay the game a lot. But what the output was extremely well polished and high quality, and we really appreciated that. But were there things that you feel got left behind when you finally decided when to release it, or were you pretty happy about the overall package? Do you think that, you mentioned there would be DLC, or there could be DLC, there may be a possible expansion pack that you all might start brainstorming about? Are there any big ideas that come to mind, things that you think you would like to add to Torchlight 2 now that it's out?
The game was done when we were pretty much done. The polish was the right amount of polish, and it was the time to release. However, obviously there's things that you never are truly done, and there's things that that in a perfect world you would have added already. I think that we could probably do some more with PvP. Obviously there's a little more balancing that we're going to do as more and more people get into the higher levels and the New Game Plus and play through the game and a really thorough level at the highest levels. So there's a lot of polish to do, and maybe minor features here and there, but I think we're happy with where we decided to say, hey, this is it, let's polish it up and ship it.
Torchlight 2, again, we mentioned that it was definitely getting great reviews. Have there been any interesting criticisms, things that you all, that might have caught you off guard, or things that got you all thinking, I guess?
It's interesting. You try not to read too much into any particular criticism, but if you see things coming up over and over, you got to take it seriously. And one of the main ones is that we already knew, as people are, the whole idea of respec is controversial in ARPGs, and people want to be able to respec all their skills, and some people think there should be no respec, and so whatever we do there is gonna cause a controversy. And in fact, it's people take it a lot more seriously than we had expected. So that'll be the first mod that comes out for the game, I think, is the respec potion. Okay. But anyway, one of the cool things about the approach that we're taking is that whatever is wrong with the game, either customers can add or we as a company can add. There's through our modding tools and the mod system.
Did you all, when developing content for Torchlight 2, how many mods did you all look at? I'm not asking for a number, but how serious did you take the mods from the first game when it came to the kind of things that you figured Torchlight players wanted in your game?
Well, I think what the main approach there was to extend what you can do with the tool. We realized that people weren't doing mods for the UI very much, for example, because UI wasn't exposed in the tool. And so now it'll be much easier to do UI mods. We'll just kind of extend the whole world of mods that you can do. And I guess it's easier to do wardrobing stuff with the tool now, but basically for our own good, because we develop with this tool, and for the modding community, we really wanted just to add functionality to it, to expose more things to the modding community, because I think that the multiplayer aspects makes the modding potential much higher.
So Torchlight 2 is obviously a very expansive game. Now that you all have added the outdoor areas, now that you all have, so much loot, all this. How did you settle for the $20 price tag? Did you all do a lot of market research beforehand, or was that something that you just knew was going to be that way from the start?
Yeah, it was kind of a gut call that, it feels like that people would have to regard it as a good value at $20. And I should say that if we were selling boxes, there's no way we could be doing a $20 game. It would be $40, $50 game. But since we're basically focusing on digital distribution, it's economically viable for it to be, it's almost equivalent for us as a developer for it to be a $20 game that's digital versus a $40, $50 game that's in box. So we just felt like, this is kind of the future of PC gaming, is all digital, and that there was this big gaping area between $1.99 iPhone games and $60 boxes that we could fill with a quality digitally distributed game. So it just felt like the right thing. It felt right with Torchlight 1, and I think people really appreciated the $20 price, and we thought, if we can do it again at $20, that, it would just be a winner of a price. And who knows, we didn't, it's hard to research these sorts of things, and you kind of go with your gut feeling.
Well, I know my brother and I both are big Torchlight fans, and he, we used to sit next to each other, he on his Mac and me on my PC. So on the Mac version, he's been curious, and I know a lot of people are curious. Is there a status update on that? How's that coming along, and do we know of kind of a general time we can expect it, I guess?
Yeah, not really. We're just starting to look at it. We're still busy with we had to do some quick language translations, and we're still patching little things here and there. So we've just started to look at it. So I really don't have anything to say on that front yet. We just, like the very first emails, have started to go back and forth about how we're going to approach this.
Well, I'm glad that's happening, though. I know a lot of people who definitely want to get on the experience. So
for sure.
Do you have a favorite class? Do you have a favorite class to play as, and how do you play it?
I want to reserve my judgment until I've played them all the way through the game on veteran, and I haven't yet. But right now, I'm thinking that it's hard to beat the engineer for just sheer fun of play. I'm pretty far with the berserker right now. That's pretty fun right now, but I'm worried about the late game and the melee combat on the high difficulty levels, so we'll see if that becomes a grind or not. But Outlander's so fun. They're all really, and you can play them all in different styles. So, even one playthrough isn't going to give me all the data I need. But I think if I had to be pinned down right now, I'd say the engineer.
So when developing all these classes and fleshing out their abilities and everything that they can do, how did you all set about balancing everything? Because I know, there was concern in Torchlight 1 over the alchemist and the magic beam and stuff. How did you make sure that there was no one kind of overpowered ability that, would lead everybody to play one class?
There's no magic solution for that. You just got to, have decent theories going in about how the curves will work out over time, and then iterate, just play the heck out of it. With Torchlight 1, we started with blank computers and had a shipping product in 11 months. So there was not a lot of time there to go and iterate and make sure that everything was in balance. And so this time, fortunately, this was part of this lengthy polish pass that we did that was why it took so long to make it. But this is we just basically played and you basically are kind of playing a game of whack-a-mole. When something's too far out of whack, you fix it. But you also want to allow for little imbalances, because that kind of is the nature of of what makes something good. You should be overpowered sometimes and a little bit underpowered sometimes, and that's what makes finding items cool and fun. So you want a little bit of imbalance, but if something gets a little overpowered or too underpowered, it's a bummer, and we just try to, through brute force, fix it one by one.
The Torchlight MMO was something that people were really talking about 1 or 2 years ago. What happened to that, and why is it a no-go?
Well, I think that we always, when we said MMO, Torchlight MMO, we use the term very broadly. So I don't think that we ever intended to make a traditional MMO. And I wouldn't say that we're not still going to, but Torchlight 2 kind of got in the way. That was the main thing, is we decided to make this multiplayer version instead, largely because it felt like a good step for our company. All we had done is made a single player game, and now we've shipped a multiplayer game, and it's infinitely more complex to do so. It made sense as kind of a stepping stone for us to take this interim step. And now we've come to the end of this, and we look back and we've made a lot of action RPGs in a row here, and the team kind of wants a creative break. And so the talk is maybe we should do something that's a small, quick project that isn't in the Torchlight universe, or radically changes the Torchlight universe. And it's that's something we have to think about, and maybe come to an MMO later. But it's the whole world changes so rapidly that things that you had planned 3-4 years ago don't make sense now. And so we try to just keep an open mind as we go and figure out what's the best thing for us to do right now, and just do that. And we're just finishing up a long project. Guys are really tired, and it's understandable that their thoughts right now are, let's do something else. But maybe we'll change our mind in a little bit and be psyched to make an expansion pack or something for Torchlight 2. We just don't know. I would say we haven't shelved the idea of an MMO, but we never said, hey, we're going to be making an MMO right now either. So so who knows? I know this is a relatively unsatisfying answer, but it's true. We just we honestly don't have a schedule written out ahead that's what we're going to do yet.
It's understandable and completely fair. So you have definitely a lot of experience, and your team has a lot of experience with the hack and slash genre. What do you think, based on the feedback that you've seen from Torchlight 2, where do you think the genre is? Is it kind of stagnating, or do you think that what you've done with Torchlight 2 and what can still be done with games like that really leaves the genre open to further development?
Well, I think right now we're definitely seeing a resurgence with the Diablo 3 and Torchlight and Path of Exile and some others out there. It seems like we're getting more action in the action RPG genre, and I think that there's a lot that can be done with it that hasn't been done, and hopefully that we're into kind of a renaissance of the genre, and we'll see people kind of branching out and doing different, having radically different takes on it, whether they're sci-fi or different control scheme or whatever. I think we got a long way to go with the genre.
We think that cel-shaded graphics are a great choice for indie developers. What can you tell us a little bit about what it was like to work with it, and what purpose did it serve when you were creating Torchlight 2's and Torchlight 1's atmosphere?
Well, I don't know if we have strictly cel-shaded graphics, but the style we picked is kind of for the same reason that you would do cel-shaded, is that it's efficient to produce, meaning that the artists can make stuff faster than they can hyper-realistic stuff where you're doing bump maps and environment maps and reflection maps and all kinds of crazy technical things. But the main thing is, in an action RPG, we've found that the experience is just exponentially better the smoother and better your frame rate is. And by being able to kind of take a low-tech approach and not have all kinds of weird shaders and the latest cutting-edge bells and whistles, Torchlight runs well on even old machines, old laptops. And it allows us to have a good frame rate on old machines. So from that perspective, I think that's a really underrated facet of what's fun about action RPGs is that it runs smooth and at a high frame rate even on old machines. So that it kind of played into that as well. Also, I think that we took the approach to differentiate ourselves from the grimmer Diablo series, and we knew that there was going to be comparisons from the beginning, and we didn't want to be seen to be trying to make Diablo. We're not trying to make Diablo. We're trying to make the new Torchlight franchise, and right. So it was a conscious decision to kind of go into a whole separate aesthetic as well. But most of it was performance-based, really.
Well, Mr. Schaefer, we are very grateful that you took your time off your schedule to answer some of our questions.
No problem. Enjoy doing it.
Well, we at Pixel Judge have at least 4 engineers whacking various critters, and we wholeheartedly invite everybody else to play Torchlight 2, whether you're bringing down firestorms and tossing balls of magma or smashing things to bits with a menacing hammer. It's all good fun. Thanks again.
Thanks.
You have completed the quest.